Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing?
Yes.
Well, have you had enough yet of this optimistic theme? Very optimistic indeed, isn't it? Yeah. So I wanted to show some love to side channel attacks because they don't really get talked about as much, and they are quite relevant. So that's what the talk is about. So yeah, thanks to the AI. Well, largely, surveillance issues are getting media attention, and they get more media attention than they normally would. So that talk was inspired by two news stories. So one was about facial recognition being rolled out live to all the police forces in the UK. And another was about Wi-Fi and how AI and Wi-Fi can track you. So basically the way it works, the Wi-Fi, if you are in the vicinity, which there's Wi-Fi everywhere, it can accurately recognize you. And with the help of the AI, it's like 90%, 95% accuracy. And well, obviously this sort of stories make people be a bit spooked and scared of the AI itself. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to worry about the AI because it's been that way all the time, really. So I'm not sure if that's particularly, particularly optimistic, but I do appreciate the role that these stories play in raising awareness. But yeah, to the point. So, however grateful I am for the AI bringing attention to surveillance issues, the AI in the current form, because there has always been some sort of the AI, it's just like these days it's more ubiquitous and more sophisticated, wasn't even needed. Like the technology that I'm about to describe has been around for quite a long time, for 10, 15, sometimes 20, 30 years. So what else have we not considered, like in the main discourse, and what makes Wi-Fi and AI such a creepy combination? So I'll explain just that. So basically the problem is everything is electromagnetic spectrum, like literally everything. Like it's just, what Wi-Fi is, obviously it's radio, and even our vision, the visible light is electromagnetic spectrum. So basically we have built-in, as humans, built-in sensors that can detect a portion of electromagnetic spectrum, and we can analyze it, but obviously it's limited. We don't see everything. So that's how it works. And yes, I'm talking about our eyes. So we can detect texture due to how electromagnetic radiation, which is visible light, is reflected from. And basically that's kind of how it works. So like when it comes to visible light, light shines upon something and it's reflected. So the way we perceive it is, there's something in front of us. For example, a car driving right towards you, and we can perceive its color. So its color is basically the wavelength that it reflects, and its shape as well. And radio kind of works in a similar way. It's just like you have radio that's sending those signals, and the objects in the way they disrupt that signal. And the sensors or the radios can perceive that, and that can be used to make some sort of interpretation of what it is, like what sort of object, like the density of the material, shape, etc. So there's that. And so, given that Wi-Fi is everywhere, and electromagnetism is everywhere, and it can be analyzed, that's how it becomes a problem. So why Wi-Fi hates you? Well, because it does. Like, it will betray you in a second. It will sell you to the lowest bidder. So, obviously, when you walk through the shops, Wi-Fi is able to detect where you're going and how much time you spend in each aisle. So that's called the dwell, and how you move between different access points. So there's that. So you can also pair the data that Wi-Fi collects with a unique identifier. For example, you can use so-called captive portals. So, if you wanted, for example, you can log into Lancaster University Wi-Fi, and there's captive port, and it asks you to use your email and put in your name. That's captive portal. And that can be used to track information about you, create identifier, and use it for all sorts of marketing purposes. So like, for example, in the case of a grocery shop, like they would know what sort of aisle you're in, and that you really like, and they can compare that data to what you actually bought, for example, based on sales data, or if you have a store app installed, then on that data, and they can tell that you really wanted to buy that bag of chips, like Walker's, salt and vinegar, but you decided not to because it's not healthy for you. But they really know your temperature, so they can send you a coupon because they know you're weak. So there's that. So you thought that they just made Wi-Fi available for you out of goodness of their heart. You sick. Also, like these days, well, to be fair, everything is monetized. Like if you breathe, that's monetized as well. So, there's a lot of potential of abuse because, this information, well, I'm kind of saying all these things in a tongue-in-cheek way, but like, this is actually betraying a lot of information about your lifestyle. Like, what is it that you fancy? What is it that you're regularly buying? Like, what shops you're visiting on a regular basis? You can pretty much recreate somebody's day based on that data and compare and pair it with a unique identifier. So that's a useful information for insurance, for example, for a burglar, I would say. That's quite a boon. I'm pretty sure life insurance would want to know that you have unhealthy habits and perhaps raise your premium if you're found hanging around for too long around a cake. So there's that. Obviously, they wouldn't tell you that, but they would love that info. So it can also be done more directly, like you just, like, for example, like you just went past, I don't know, Cadbury chocolate, if this is something you fancy. And then, it can send you a coupon for that, for example, or like to buy 3 for the price of 2. So like bit less sophisticated. There's also Bluetooth. Bluetooth is it's a radio frequency as well. So yes, it is bad for you. So the way it works, it's pretty straightforward. So it's, we're not going to discuss that in too much depth, but shops use that. So basically they have Bluetooth beacons and you walk past them, and funny thing how that works is that those beacons don't gather any data directly from your device. So it's your device that gathers the unique identifier of the beacon, and you pass a lot of those beacons. For example, you go through the shop, so you pass the entrance, you went to the ambient aisle, you went to the fridges, and if you have an app installed for the shop, so it gathers all those identifiers because it can, like you can't limit that type of activity. It can record those, and it can recreate where you were in the shop. So, it works out pretty much the same way. So then the app will send it to the servers of the shop, and the shop servers will either decide to send you some sort of information, like, for example, prompt you to use a coupon, or perhaps send you some other information about like what's going on in the shop. Something that it will figure it's relevant to you, basically. One thing is, like, people think that if you switch off Bluetooth, it eliminates the problem. And yes, it does to a degree. Like, that's my huge beef with Samsung, because on Samsung, and I think it's Xiaomi phones as well, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, even if you disable Bluetooth, like in order to disable gathering all the identifier data, you have to go mess about with battery saving settings. So there's that. I will get to that. There will be a slide that will show you all those things and how you can switch things off. On the iPhone, yes, switching off Bluetooth, not popping up that thing in Control Center, but switching Bluetooth entirely does help. So there's that. Okay, so what is it that Wi-Fi can actually be used for, and without any sort of AI? So it can recognize gestures. So there was one such system. So it was called YC or VC, however you want to pronounce it, and it can distinguish between two different people as well. And what it was made for initially was recognizing gestures. So like you could, for example, do that to like switch off the knob, the switch up to like turn up the volume with like as if you were using a knob, or like you could use it for smart home, for smart home management, like you draw the curtains or switch the lights off with a gesture. But obviously, if it can do that, then it can recognize what you're doing in your own house. So it can have less innocent users as well. Also like what do you need in order to have that functionality? And the thing is, like any old router would do, it's just a matter of tiny software update. And there are companies that that's in the US that actually use that for their own benefit. So there's a company called there's a company in the US and they are called Xfinity. So they have an option for you to use Wi-Fi in order to detect presence in your house. So yeah, quite handy. I can see how that could be useful. So instead of having an alarm system, you have just your own Wi-Fi, and if somebody pops through the door and you don't remember handing keys to anybody, then then it can trigger the alarm. But they also gather that data and aggregate it and sell it to data brokers. So there's that. So there's not only that project. So, about 9 years ago, a company called Zyner was established, and that company created something that they are now offering for sale. So it's called like a physical layer of the AI. So they use 5G and Wi-Fi, well, basically radio technologies that are commonly used these days, in order to map the entire cities down to every tiny object in your house. And this is quite accurate, and they are offering it to both government agencies and, well, in general, like anonymized data for analysis. How anonymous the data about your own home can be, well, it's up to you to decide whether that's what you think of it. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but this is a thing, this is happening, and this isn't really as sophisticated as it's made out to be. So, well, yeah, we are talking about Crisp's habit, right? So these can hear you as well. And this is a bit of a more obscure thing. So not only do they drag you to your premature death if you exceed, appropriate consumption levels, but they can hear voices, quite literally, and it can be used to record conversations. And this is actually quite fun how it works. Again, I remind you, this is no sophisticated AI, no ChatGPT, no nothing involved. So basically what you do is you need a camera. And the tests from this slide, so they were performed in a totally soundproof room. So the window is, actually I would call it balcony door, to be fair. So it's totally soundproof. And the way it works, so if you were a kid and played with tin foil, it makes weird noises when you speak right next to it. And it's a similar thing. So even the tiniest noises make the bag of crisps vibrate, or any like flimsy object, any object in general. And it's imperceptible to us, but cameras do see it. And if you have high enough frame rate, then, you can just make a recording, and you don't even need particularly high frame rate. So the researchers used 2,000 frames per second, but like for comparison, speech is usually between A2 to A4, so that like in hertz, that would be like between 110 hertz and 440 hertz. So that's way below 2,000 frames per second. So you need that frame rate, to match the frequency, and then you can analyze it. And to be fair, forget everything what I said. Due to how you don't really need such a high FPS, because the way most of the modern cameras work, they don't take a picture of the entire scene all at once, like the way we see something and the way old cameras, like analog cameras, worked. So this is called, so what it's called is a rolling shutter. So you can either have it like spinning around, but like in phones, it's most like scanning like line by line, like going down like this. And due to distortions that produces, you can actually use an ordinary phone camera in order to recover sound. So yeah, so here we go. So all you need is pretty much any modern smartphone for somebody to be able to eavesdrop on you. Well, provided that you're eating crisps. Actually, no, sorry. Even if you don't eat crisps, like they also did tests with all objects like plants, for example. So if you have plants or if you're eating salad, you're not that much better off, really. So, yeah, so there's that. So, so Wi-Fi is bad, is all radio bad? And yes. So if you think that you're in front of a PC that has no Wi-Fi access, has no wireless network card, and, and if you think like, okay, so they can't catch me, nobody can eavesdrop on me, I would probably ask you, does it have a display, that computer? Probably yes. And if so, sorry, you're cooked. And how that works. So, that's quite easy actually. So the problem is similar in a way. So obviously, like, well, what any monitor emits is light, electromagnetic spectrum. So it can be used to eavesdrop on you, as I said earlier. And, well, also monitors emit sound. And if you're as old as me, you might have even had a CRT TV or monitor in your house, and they do make that white noise. And those actually also make those noises, like this iPad as well. You kind of have to admit that humans' hearing sucks. And like animals are superior when it comes to us, when it comes to the range of frequencies. So they do make imperceptible noise, and depending on what pixel is lit up, there will be variation. So you can we can't hear it, but microphones can, and they will record it, and you can analyze it and, read what's on the screen. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah, and if you think that you need like fancy microphone, like the setup that Cooper set up for us very kindly here, you would be wrong. Well, again, like just a very basic microphone for that headset that you can get for £2 from Temu is sufficient really for this purpose. So yeah, so there's that. So yeah, so how does everybody feel about this now? So you're not going to eat crisps. You're not going to use radio. So on your premises. So you're probably going to okay, thank you, eat organic and fine, hopefully you have fully inaccessible source of energy if you're intending to do that, because energy can be used to spy on you as well. And, so meters can spy on you, and this is, you might have heard about pushback against smart meters, and this is for really good reasons. So, they gather something called half-hourly data. This is the default. You can change how often they gather data if you speak to your energy provider, but this is the default. And the energy providers say that this is anonymized. Absolutely wrong. So it's just the pattern of energy use, like energy spikes, combined with times at which you use energy is so unique that you can trace it back to each meter point. I'm not saying each household, because sometimes households can have 2 meter points. But, and the problem with that is that energy providers and regulators actually move towards more transparency with this sort of data. So as in they look to share with everybody, like with all agencies for research purposes, for managing the energy use and tariffs, etc. Even if you round up the numbers, you still can be identified from your energy use. So there's that. So sorry, no electricity for you guys. So there's that. And, again, it's quite a boon, this sort of data for all sorts of companies who want to monetize and target you, and for government agencies as well. We'll get to that in a bit. But it's not just that, using energy, if you use energy, you lose some, and through heat. And heat leaves a trace, so thermal cameras can be used. And they can tell like what device was on and how long ago was it switched on, or if it's off. And speaking of thermal cameras, they can also pick up what we were touching around the house. They can be so precise. So, for example, if you're typing your password, the camera can be used to analyze what keys you were using. So, what they found actually is if somebody like hums and pecks on keyboard, then it is more reliable, but it's still, can be used to identify what you were typing. And also, sound can be used for that purpose as well. So even a recording from your Zoom call when somebody hears you typing, that can be used to identify what keys you are using. This is more reliable method. So I suppose you shouldn't type in any passwords while on a call or ever in case somebody overhears you using a bag of crisps. So there's that. And you also don't want to use any light. And use any light bulbs. And so do you want to cancel your contract with energy provider yet? Yeah. No, you're still good. So it's not that easy. It's relatively easy. Like it's still within the reach of average person. So all you need is a telescope. And actually, I have recently seen one at the charity shop where it was about £50. So for the record, I'm not using it for anything. But so you know how you were discussing sounds just recently, right? So sounds also influence the light and make the light bulb vibrate. Thank you. And you can, again, record that pattern or like even use it live. So you direct the telescope at the window of somebody you want to eavesdrop on. And you put the sensor in front of the telescope and it reads the signal and it recovers all the sounds for you. And this is actually pretty accurate. I'm not turning switch off the lights off, guys. Sorry, kidding. It's recorded anyway. So I could easily go on about it all day. Like there's loads more attacks as such, and these are really accessible and these are really cheap to do. But is this even legal? And the answer is actually kinda yes. There is no precedent about using such data to, for example, target somebody, to surveil somebody. But the thing is surveillance is called by the harassment laws, unauthorized surveillance, of course, like by stalker or somebody. One thing is, it's very difficult to prove, those methods can be used quite covertly and nobody realizing, so good luck proving that and getting the authorities to investigate. And the other, you could argue in theory that this data is public. So unless somebody actually goes to the court or there's a specific act of law, it's kind of a gray area legally. So there's that. I hear you say, talking about shops, there's GDPR, they're not supposed to collect it. And I've got a really bad news for you because these days, by merely walking into the shop or by the shop, you agree to their privacy policy and to their terms and conditions. So, and this sucks because you don't read terms and conditions before you leave the house, but unfortunately that's the reality we live in, and so far it's sufficient for all the regulators. And also if you want to protect yourself by jamming the radio signal, no, you can't. So they can do all those things. They can surveil, they can spy on you. You can't protect yourself. This is illegal, or if you use modified radio equipment without Ofcom's authorization, or if you use jammers. So there's, are those attacks used by any government agencies? Actually, yes. So obviously it's difficult to tell because it would be an interesting freedom of information thing. But, NSA, for example, used to listen on encrypted faxes sent by European Union agencies. So, they didn't really crack the encryption. They basically recorded the sounds that fax made and then recovered, so they kind of circumvented encryption as opposed to decrypting anything. So, And also you would think that the data that I was discussing, for example, have hourly data and all the data about us, about our habits, that's, well, agencies that have access to it would usually be like police, like investigating very serious crimes. And no. So if you want to take, if you want to take a screen grab, this is all the agencies that have access, that can request access to your half-hourly data and other personal data in order to conduct all sorts of things. I'm not going to go in depth because, come on. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So there's that. But yeah, if you think like it's just for serious things, you're gravely mistaken. So what are we doing now? So because like, what's the point? Like, do we just all dig a hole for ourselves and just stay there? And, well, it's up, well, you can go dark, like you can just, like live in a hole, or, well, you can take some basic steps. Again, you're welcome to take a picture of this slide for the reference, like what steps can you do to minimize tracking. Well, this is something I want to highlight because it's not foolproof, it's not stopping all the tracking that shops do. So there's that. Okay, I'll wait for everybody to take a picture. All good? Okay, so, yeah, but basically, so I think the way to address it is at the source. So we need more transparency. I'm a really big fan of transparency, pretty much. This is something that I promote in every single talk of mine. But I do think that being more engaged, basically, it does help. So, like, we need more oversight over these things. Like, we can't really all live in bunkers. Like, that's unrealistic. And we want to use that technology that we've got. But we need to be able to decide whether the use of it is proportional, and it's up to us to make up our mind about things, but like it's just about being engaged in the process. So like, well, first of all, like if you vote, well, don't vote just on vibes, really. And that's how people normally vote. Like, read the policies, read the manifesto. If there's something controversial coming up, actually, instead of like reading the summary, take some time to read the actual regulation so you make up your own mind. Because like things get skewed by reporters who report on all sorts of things, but you need to make up your own mind about things, and you may perhaps agree with some of the users of the technology. It's all up to you. Like, I'm not even here to tell you like what is right, what is wrong. So there's that. Well, obviously, if you disagree with something, it's a good idea to attend protests or like sign petitions in favor or against something. There's that. And the last option, well, is like hold your politicians accountable. Like, even if the MP that has been, that is in your constituency is not the one you wanted, it's their job to still represent you, no matter what political persuasion they are. So like, hold them accountable, give them a call, like, attend the surgery. Well, just like go speak to them, or like make your opinion known. And I know like one person isn't going to make a difference, but like if a lot of people voice their disagreement with something, then that's when it works. So that's what I encourage you to do. I'm really a big fan of it. And yeah, so I think we actually did a good job. Did I go over time?
We've got a break this time.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to me. So I really hope that encourages you to go deeper and to research these things for yourself. And if you want to get in touch, or if you have, or if you remember some questions that you didn't manage to ask, then yeah, by all means you can contact me through social media. Do we have time for any questions?
I think we've got a bit of time. Perhaps one or two questions, if there's questions in the audience. There's okay, right away here. You will be using a microphone. The lights will be on, so be careful with what you say. That's good.
So since we can't stop using all the stuff, what if we just double down and use it in such an erratic fashion that the data does not make sense anymore?
Sorry, say that again?
What if we just double down and use all the things in such a manner that we generate so much data that it does not make sense anymore? Like,
well, to be fair, that's not how it works. Like, the more you use the technology, the more data you generate, the more you can learn from it, and more precise conclusions can be drawn for data. So I do get where you're coming from, but I don't think it works that way.
I think there's one more question here, if that's right.
Hi, Kinga.
Hello.
Do you have a good bunker distributor that you'd suggest?
Well, I actually, well, funnily enough, I've read an article about them becoming quite popular recently, and it sets you back at only, the prices start at only £300,000 if you can. Well, so yeah, quite cheap, and well, provided that you have your own land. So, well, I can have a look for it if you're interested, and if you have spare 300,000 quid, I don't really. Yeah, that's personal information, but there you have it. That's how much I betray. Yeah.
But the pattern of life of you buying a bunker means that everyone else knows you've got a bunker as well. So you need to watch out for that as well. So.
But you need, but on the point, like, you need independent energy supply. So I don't know how much that is going to cost you. So there's that. Sorry. I've seen it on the internet, so it must be true. Like, if you have a cat and you have a bread and it's buttered on one side, and like you put bread on the cat, and you get basically infinite energy, like, from the spin. Cool. So yeah, I think you can try that. I'm not borrowing my cat though, I'm not lending my cat for the purpose though. Sorry. She's indispensable.
Before we start questioning the privacy details of a cat, I think we should stop there. I'm getting a nod from the team outside. It's time to go for a break. So can I ask you first of all to say thank you to Kinga for a fantastic talk?